What's going on, guys? My name is Jason Walker, and I'm going to be talking about my debate project and my final topic on it. So today, what I did for my debate project was talking about collegiate athletes and their, their position in the spotlight and behind the scenes. So the reason why I chose to do this was because just off of my experience of going to UNM, I played sports, not at UNM, I played sports in high school, but when I got to college, I stopped and just wanted to focus on my studies. However, I had classes with collegiate athletes, and I didn't know what to expect, honestly. Some of my friends were on the football team, so, I thought, great things, because my friends were awesome, but that wasn't necessarily the case. When I went to UNM, I had some classes with these students, and it just wasn't a good experience. They were definitely very ignorant, very entitled, and they just expected a whole lot. And I knew just from experience of having friends on the football team and just in sports in general, I know they have a different path than regular students do at the University of New Mexico. I know that they have kind of their own specific academic advisor that really helps them out to put them in, the easiest classes as possible. They have their own tutors, and their tutors have, syllabus prints out for them, their course schedule for the whole semester in each class, and what they need to be doing and what they're not supposed to be doing. They basically kind of are getting walked through school. So going into class and knowing about all that and seeing how they still acted, it was just blatantly disrespectful. And I had many occasions of those collegiate athletes coming up to me asking me to help them out. And in certain classes, or when it's time to take their exam, I would see them trying to cheat or peek over. So I thought the worst of these football players, amongst other things, outside of school, and their actions outside of school as well. However, I did this project and wanted to see if I was going to be proven wrong, or maybe I can change the way I thought about these collegiate athletes and their background and their stories. And so essentially what I learned was that these collegiate athletes have a hard time in school. I learned that that a lot of these students are there to play the sport, and they get treated very like a prop, essentially. They're money makers. They're there to make some revenue for the school, and that's about it. I did some research, and I realized that a lot of students that play football or basketball actually want to have a career. They want to go out and they want to, do something other than, being an athlete. So majority of the players obviously are there to try to make a career out of it. So I understand that that's how some of it works. However, some students aren't. And I did some research, and I saw that one student, he wanted to be a veterinarian, but his academic advisor told him, we're going to put you on wayside, and we're going to just put you in these easy classes, essentially, just to get you by, because your main priority is football, it's not school. And that really took me aback, because I know not all collegiate athletes want to play their sport forever. They actually want to make something out of their lives, do something better, especially if they end up not making a professional team. You need a plan B. So it's really important to have a degree that you are really interested in, just in case, you don't go pro. You might want to just, take that degree and find a path. So I think it's really insane that, coaches don't really care about some of their athletes. I think they're just there obviously for the money. I know some I've seen a lot of documentaries though, on Netflix, that you get to go in personally to see. You see that coaches really do care about their students. Those are some cases. Most cases though, they don't really care. They're caring about their player emotionally and physically because they want them to do well in the field. However, they don't really care what's going on off the field. They don't really care about what's going on with their career, what they're going to be doing. And so it's really sad to see that. Especially when it comes to African Americans as well. That's something that needs to be touched on as well, because I know that just being a collegiate athlete on its own is a struggle, but imagine being an African American collegiate athlete. Doing some research, and after reading or viewing I think it was the Nocera, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but the Nocera videos, he came up with a really awesome TED Talk, and he gave excellent research. And some was just about, like at the University of at the University of Alabama, University of Auburn, 3.2% of students are African American. However, 78% of the basketball and football teams are African American. So it's crazy to think about scholarships, full ride scholarships. You have players that get full ride scholarships, but you have no idea that there's only an X amount that get thrown out there. So majority of these players that are going to be on the basketball team or on the football team are African American, and they get treated less. They don't get treated like an equal. They get treated like they are a prop, and that they are there just to make money. I also learned that the African American students that participate in conferences such as the Big Ten, the Big Ten, the Big 12, 42% of them have a less graduating success rate. Sorry, I'm actually reading off of this. Please forgive me. Also, Michigan, Michigan State, only 33% of African American students graduate in 6 years compared to 78% of non-athletes. So that's another thing to think about. It's not just only African Americans, it's also just collegiate athletes as well. They get put on the back burner. They're in school for 6 years. For one simple degree that they're probably not going to use because their main focus is for sports. Also, I got to touch in with the HBCU colleges and how they have to deal with stuff. I think it's amazing that HBCUs exist. I think it's beautiful because, not every African American obviously gets treated equally. As you can see in the world that we live in, things have been really crazy. However, at HBCUs, a lot of athletes have actually a really hard time gaining a scholarship. They don't really get a full ride scholarship off of their sport. They have to go out of their way to look for specific scholarships for them, and it has nothing to do with sports. A lot of it has to do with academics, and that's another thing too. That's another topic to touch on, which is just everyone's academics when it comes to these sports. They don't get enough time. Their main priority is football. It's not their academics. And imagine being an African American trying to play a sport, and there is no scholarship for you for that sport. You have to get a scholarship based off your academics, and you have no time doing that because you're focused on your sport. It's kind of like you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, essentially. So it's a little hard, and so I feel super bad for these collegiate athletes. It definitely changes my perspective on them, although I didn't have a great experience myself. After doing this research, you being put in the spotlight, you get all this, this glamour, you get all this props from these students and these parents and these coaches, but then behind the scenes, they deal with a lot of stuff. They spend most of their time on the field, in the gym. They wake up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to do these practices, and then they have to go to school. And then after they go to school, they have another practice because they do 2-a-days. Then after practice, they have to go home, do homework, eat, shower, do it all over again. So they barely even have time for freedom. So essentially, it's just crazy what collegiate athletes have to go through. And not that I'm saying what I experience I agree with, but I completely understand what they go through now, and it definitely has changed my perspective. And I wish nothing but the best for these collegiate athletes. And now that there is that the NCAA dropped that fair play, fair rule rule, I think it was, and it, you know, and now that individual players can get sponsorships to get more money, I think it's a beautiful thing. I know that it doesn't go into play for another couple years, I think, but to know that they're going to be getting that opportunity is amazing. So I wish nothing but the best for these collegiate athletes, and it definitely has changed my perspective, and I have way more respect for them. And that is my debate project, and I stand firm on that. And anybody that wants to challenge me, let's do it. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much.